My name is Dr. Helena Mercer.
I say it once because names still belong to the world of forms and records.
And this story begins where those things lose their authority. Before everything changed, I believed death was a mechanical problem, something measurable, a loss of electrical coherence in the brain, a shutdown cascade. When the heart stops long enough, consciousness dissolves. End of signal. End of self. That belief wasn't cold, it was comforting. It meant there was nothing watching, nothing waiting, nothing keeping score. It meant the universe was vast and indifferent, and in that indifference, fair. I lived inside that certainty for most of my adult life. The day I died, I wasn't thinking about God or meaning or legacy. I was thinking about grip strength and weather conditions and how familiar the route felt beneath my hands. I'd climbed that path before. Muscle memory had already decided the next move. When my hand slipped, there was no drama in my mind, no life flashing before my eyes, just a sudden misalignment between expectation and reality. Rock where there should have been friction, space where there should have been support, then falling. Wind rushed past my ears, my body reacted faster than thought, a sharp intake of breath that never finished, a strange clarity where panic should have been. This is it, I remember thinking, not with fear, with accuracy. The impact never arrived. Instead, there was a moment where everything simply stopped participating. Gravity let go, sensation dissolved. Not darkness, not sleep, but absence, like sound dropping out of a room. I didn't understand it yet. There was no awareness of leaving my body, no tunnel, no separation scene. One state of being ended, and another began without a seam. I became aware of myself without weight. I was upright, though I wasn't standing on anything that obeyed physics. Beneath me was something solid and luminous at the same time, like light that had learned how to hold form. It didn't shine, it simply was. The light around me wasn't blinding, it didn't cast shadows, it didn't come from anywhere. It existed the way truth exists when no one is arguing with it. I looked down because I needed orientation. My hands were there, familiar in shape, unfamiliar in substance, not flesh, not energy, but something between, translucent without being fragile. I felt whole. That alone unsettled me more than fear would have. I realized I had no pain, no hunger, no thirst, no sense of urgency. Every survival signal that had governed my life was silent. Only later did I realize how loud those signals had always been. I sensed someone before I saw him, not through sound or movement, but through recognition. Like noticing a gravity well in space, like knowing someone has entered the room without turning your head. When I turned, there was a man standing a short distance away. There was nothing theatrical about him, no radiance that demanded attention, no symbols that needed decoding. He was simply present, fully, calmly, as if he had nowhere else to be. His eyes held depth that made time feel irrelevant, not ancient in an old way, but complete, as if they had seen beginnings and endings and found neither particularly alarming. He knew me. That knowledge arrived before any words. I didn't feel evaluated. I felt recognized. He spoke my name once, not to call me closer, not to introduce himself, just to acknowledge me. The sound of his voice didn't travel through air, it resonated through awareness itself. It didn't echo, it settled. I knew without being told that my body was elsewhere, that my heart had stopped, that time was limited in a way that mattered now. And I knew with equal certainty that I was safe. That realization broke something open inside me. Safety had always been conditional in my life, earned through competence, maintained through control. This safety asked nothing of me. It existed independent of belief or effort. I didn't understand it yet. The light around us shifted without movement, no sensation of travel, no change in position, just a reorganization of what I was perceiving. White became layered, depth emerged. Ice. Endless ice, stretching beyond horizon and curvature. A frozen expanse I recognized instantly, not because I was there, but because it had once been inside me. Greenland. I felt the same sensation I had years earlier. The pressure, the awareness, that subtle wrongness that never rose to panic, but never left either. We were above it, though distance felt symbolic rather than literal. I could see vastness without strain, detail without effort. The ice began to change. Not melting, not cracking, becoming transparent. Layer after layer revealed itself like pages turning backward through time. Snowfall histories, pressure maps, the slow memory of cold. Then rock. Then something else. Structures. Not natural, not accidental. Geometry embedded in stone where erosion had no jurisdiction. Shapes too precise to be coincidence, too old to be human. They didn't dominate the space, they waited within it. A faint glow emanated from them, not bright, not illuminating, just enough to signal presence, purpose. Around them, movement, not frantic, not chaotic, contained. Bound. I felt sorrow before fear. That confused me. The presence beside me allowed the understanding to arrive without force. He didn't explain, he contextualized. These were not legends misunderstood, not metaphors mistaken for reality. They were realities humanity had mythologized because it lacked the language to hold them plainly. Conscious beings that had chosen themselves over harmony. Awareness that turned inward until it collapsed into distortion. Imprisonment was not punishment, it was mercy, containment. I understood then why the land had felt alive, not sentient in itself, but weighted, bearing something that did not belong to surface reality. I remembered standing on the ice years ago, unable to articulate the reason my chest felt tight, why sleep abandoned me, why the silence felt crowded. It hadn't been fear, it had been perception without framework. That night outside the research station, when I thought I heard something beneath the glacier, it hadn't been sound, it had been awareness brushing against awareness. I was never meant to stay long enough to understand it then. Only later did I realize how deliberately that had been arranged. The vision widened. I saw meltwater carving new paths downward, human instruments drilling deeper, mapping aggressively, extracting resources with precision and confidence, none of it malicious, all of it consequential. I saw nations positioning themselves, routes opening, trade lines redrawing, competition wearing the mask of progress. Power doesn't need evil intent to cause harm, it only needs blindness. The presence beside me didn't frame this as catastrophe. There was no panic in him, no urgency that demanded fear, only clarity. Some boundaries exist for reasons that have nothing to do with human politics. Then the focus shifted inward. My life unfolded, not as scenes to be judged, but as sensations to be re-experienced. I felt the moments I had chosen certainty over wonder, evidence over trust, distance over intimacy, not as sins, as strategies.
I saw how often I had dismissed love because it resisted measurement, how quickly I equated belief with weakness, how easily I labeled mystery as ignorance. There was no condemnation, only truth. I was shown moments I had minimized, quiet kindnesses, unremarkable choices that had rippled farther than I knew. Nothing was wasted. That realization dismantled me more than any accusation could have. Only later did I understand that this was what people meant by grace. Time returned as a narrowing sensation, not ticking, compressing. I became aware of return approaching. I didn't want to go back. The thought surprised me with its intensity, not because my life had been unbearable, but because clarity is intoxicating,